friends, the confrontation is now set. Democrat governors and mayors vow to stand up to Trump's plan to deport millions of illegals. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, as I said recently on X, there is now a violent confrontation, potentially a standoff, that is now developing between the so-called resistance. This is blue state governors led by Gavin Newsom, as well as J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, Kathy Hochul in New York, and of course our own Maura Healey, Hold It Healey, here in Massachusetts. But it's not just blue state governors. It is now blue state mayors. Recently, the city of Los Angeles, the so-called City of Angels, their city council and mayor voted to declare themselves a full-blown sanctuary city that will stand up and oppose Trump's efforts to come in, send in ICE agents to deport criminal illegal aliens. This is also happening in Chicago, New York City, and of course here our own mayor, Michelle Wu. In other words, what you're starting to see is Democrats vowing to stand with the illegals and, if need be, set off a potential confrontation. Now, all of this is now in the context of yesterday's historic judgment in a courtroom in Athens, Georgia, where finally the judge ruled in the case of Laken Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student at the University of Georgia whose only crime was that she decided to take her routine early morning jog. Except the last day that she did that jog, she made a fatal mistake. She trusted in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to keep her, our border, and our country safe, because they allowed into our country, and I want all of you to please hear this, not just an illegal alien, not just a criminal illegal alien, somebody with a rap sheet as long as my arm, but an actual member of one of the most violent, sadistic gangs on the planet called Tren de Aragua. They are a rival to MS-13. Jose Ibarra came into the country illegally. And from there, even though he was here illegally, the Biden-Harris regime, I kid you not, flew him on our taxpayer expense to New York City, a sanctuary city. And when he landed, the taxpayers, because of the sanctuary city policy, gave him free shelter, free food, money, prepaid debit cards. They even eventually gave this illegal a work permit. And then he committed another crime. Another crime. He was arrested for endangering the life of a small child. They fingerprinted him. The fingerprints came back, all of it showing this was a lifelong vicious criminal. And yet, nobody bothered to deport him. Because of the sanctuary city policy, ICE was not allowed to go in, grab Jose Ibarra, handcuff him, arrest him, imprison him, or deport him. No. And so, the sanctuary city policy of New York and the New York Police Department released this vicious, sadistic killer and rapist onto the street. And you know what he did? He got another flight paid by us, this time to Georgia. And on that fateful morning, Jose Ibarra needed to satisfy his appetite again. And he stalked Laken Riley. And as he stalked her, He hunted her down, and in a wooded area on the UGA campus, he then brutalized that poor woman. As we heard in heartbreaking, heart-wrenching testimony, I'm telling you, at times, I could barely not watch it, but I had to watch it as to be able to report on it. She fought for her life for 18 minutes. 18 minutes. She fought to breathe. She fought to live. She tried to fight him off. And eventually, he murdered her. It was cold-blooded murder. And yesterday, the judge found him guilty on all 10 counts. And when I heard the news on the radio, I was just pumping my fist in the car. Yes, baby. Yes, baby. As President Trump said, finally, justice for Laken Riley. But I've got to say this, okay? I got to say this, my friends. If any case cries out for the death penalty, if any case says this violent, sadistic, premeditated, cold-blooded murderer and lifelong criminal who brutalizes and murders women, that's what he does, and brutalizes children, that's what he does, should have gotten the electric chair, it's Jose Ibarra. And by the way, people are making a mistake. I'm getting all kinds of emails and texts from people saying, you know, Georgia doesn't have the death penalty. Oh, no. No, look it up. Georgia has the death penalty. But the Soros-backed district attorney, you can look this up. Please don't take my word for it. The Soros-backed district attorney, quote unquote, this is what she said, that she refused to ask for the death penalty, nor will she apply the death penalty because of the quote unquote collateral consequences to undocumented immigrants. In other words, which is to me a ridiculous argument, but in other words, well, no, if this becomes a death penalty case, this may inflame the public even more against illegal aliens. So no, we're not going to apply the death penalty, even though this man clearly deserves the electric chair. And so instead, they gave him, which is what the judge's only ability was, life without parole. Now, at least for Laken Riley's parents, and in particular, the most heart-wrenching, I mean, it was all heart-wrenching, to be honest. At this point, it's, you know, the tears were just streaming down my cheeks, to be honest with you. But it was her father. It was Laken Riley's father who told the court and really was speaking to his daughter beyond the grave, saying, I'm your father. I raised you. I love you. You're my little girl. You're always going to be my little girl. And it eats me up like cancer that I wasn't able to be there to protect you. The father is going to be shattered for the rest of his life. The mother is going to be shattered for the rest of her life. All of the siblings, the family members, everybody who knew her, they're all victims of this crime. And Jose Ibarra is going to sit in some comfortable jail cell with 3 square meals a day. I'm not kidding. Ice cream and sundaes on Wednesday. Cable television. Internet pornography. Laptops, computers, a gym to work out in. Friday night, movie night. All of this we're going to have to pay. I mean, I've heard figures up to $100,000 a year. I can't believe it's that expensive, but whatever it is, 50, 60, 70,000 that we're going to have to pay to keep this loser alive for the next 60 years. To me, this is outrageous. But the larger point is this. had it not been for Joe Biden's open borders policy, but also the policies of these treasonous Democrats, globalist Democrats, America Last Democrats, with their sanctuary states and their sanctuary cities, Laken Riley would be alive today. Her parents would not be crushed and devastated and heartbroken. She'd be pursuing and probably finishing her degree in nursing and living the life that God intended and wanted for her. But instead, because of people like Mayor Michelle Wu and Eric Adams, that loser mayor of New York, and Kathy Hochul, and Gavin Newsom, and that crazy mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, and Governor Katie Hobbs in Arizona, and I could go on and on. Laken Riley and thousands of others like her are dead. And they now want to stand in the way of Donald Trump and protect rapists like Ibarra? Shame on you. 621 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this was President-elect Donald Trump's reaction to the verdict yesterday in Athens, Georgia, on the Laken Riley case. Guilty on all 10 counts. Life sentence. Jose Ibarra, the killer, that savage, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Here is what Donald Trump wrote on Truth Social. Justice for Laken Riley. The illegal who killed our beloved Laken Riley was just found guilty on all counts for his horrific crimes. He goes on to say, "We love you, Laken, and our hearts will always be with you. It is time to secure our border and remove these criminals and thugs from our country so nothing like this can happen again." And as somebody reacted to President Trump, and I want to read this as well, because I agree with this person completely. Quote, "I regret to inform everyone that it has been revealed that Laken Riley suffered for 18 long minutes before finally dying. It was also revealed during the court case that the Biden-Harris administration flew the illegal migrant straight to her on a taxpayer-funded flight." That was from New York all the way into Georgia. This person continues, "Democrats need to go to prison for this." You think? Seriously, you think? And I just want to set the table. The lines are full. When the lines are full this early, I like to go to the calls right away. So maybe I'll take one call this segment. I definitely will go to the calls in the next segment. But let me just set the table. What we're now watching, and I'm going to really unpeel this like like an onion over the next couple of hours, is this clear push by the radical Democrats to block Trump's border efforts, to block his mass deportation plans. As you know, Trump has said on day one, he is going to declare a national emergency, declare this a border invasion, and he's going to unleash border czar Tom Homan. Homan now has come out and laid out the entire plan. The plan in a nutshell is we are going to seal that border shut. We are then going to unleash ICE agents, federal law enforcement, and the U.S. military to go first and foremost against violent, criminal, illegal aliens. The gangs, drug traffickers, human traffickers, those convicted of murder and rape. So there's about 28 to 30,000 of them that are going to be numero uno, first priority. Then they're going to start going deeper into communities and start going after other criminal illegals until they start going after illegals themselves who have not committed other crimes or violent crimes. So it's going to be a multi-step process. Holman says every illegal will be deported. Every single one of them. It's going to be millions and millions and millions. The Democrats now are vowing all-out resistance. And the vanguard of this resistance is really 5 states. Okay, there are others that are going to collaborate, cooperate, but the vanguard of this resistance is 5 blue states with all of their moonbat blue state mayors. It is California. Gavin Newsom now says he's going to make the whole state Trump-proof. Illinois, New York, Massachusetts, and Arizona. Governor Katie Hobbs of Arizona has said, you're going to have to go through me to get to the illegals. Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois has said, literally, you have to go through me to get to the illegals. Gavin Newsom, and now L.A. just signed off as a big-time sanctuary city, saying we will resist the feds if they come in for these illegals. Kathy Hochul in New York has now said the same thing. Here in Massachusetts, and we really now are the California of the East Coast in terms of our crazy politics, Maura Healey has said we will wage all-out resistance. Elizabeth Warren has said, we will wage all-out resistance. And now the latest, and to me the most dangerous, is Mayor Michelle Wu. She now has said that she will order, listen to this, order Boston police, local police in Boston, to shield and protect every single illegal in the city. Even rapists and felons. They are now setting up a possible violent confrontation between their sanctuary cities and states and the feds. 6:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. You can also text the Kuhner Man, 70470, 70470. Okay, I want to go right to the phone lines. Double-barreled question. 1, what do you make of the sentencing of Jose Ibarra, the man now found guilty on all counts of murdering Laken Riley? He will not get the death penalty. That's because of the Soros-backed DA who took it off the table. Instead, he will be getting life in prison without the possibility of parole. And number 2, do Democrats bear responsibility not just for the death of Laken Riley, but for the death of thousands, and I mean literally thousands, of other women, children, and men in our country? They opened up the borders. They let people like Ibarra come in, unvetted, unchecked, criminals, gangbangers, sadistic murderers. They even flew them around the country on our dime and gave them sanctuary in sanctuary cities from which they were able to then wreak havoc, death, and destruction. And so, my question to you, are these Democrats who are now saying they will wage all-out resistance, are they aiding and abetting criminal behavior? And are they traitors? And is it time for all of them to go to prison? Agree, disagree, lines jammed. Dave in Tennessee, you're going to kick us off, Dave. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Good morning. I'll make this quick. So
Yes,
I
Dave.
lost 2 friends to illegal immigrants. One was, he was on his motorcycle. This woman hit him, killed him instantly. No registration, no driver's license, no insurance. I guess she was a nanny for somebody rich because they got her a good lawyer and she got 90 days community service. The other person was a guy named Rich Pierce. First guy was Scott Allen. Other person was Richard Pierce. Both of these guys, Fort Lauderdale. Did Uber to make some money. Went to do a pickup. Guy come out, empty the weapon into him. It was a jumping to get into a gang. You had to murder somebody to get into this gang. They caught that guy. He got life in prison. So this issue really hits me hard. There has to be consequences for actions. They are ignoring, the Democrats are ignoring the existing consequences that we all see. They're ignoring them. They're even saying that there's no significant crime. What Tom Holman needs to do, and I listened to the interview with Laura Ingraham last evening, he ran off the statute, and he even said, pay attention, here's the statute. You're aiding and abetting, and there will be consequences. He needs to enforce those consequences where he rolls up and he puts handcuffs on Marla Healey. He puts handcuffs on the mayor of Boston. He puts handcuffs on the governor of New York, Illinois, California, and Arizona. And show, because once that gets real for them, when they face the consequences of their actions and they see that one of them is actually getting locked up, I think you're going to see a shift in policy. That's just my opinion. But we need to take concrete, serious, and I mean serious action against these sanctuary cities because they are not accepting the real-life consequences that Americans are suffering through because of this stupid, inane policy. And we all know why that policy was enacted. It was enacted to crush our social welfare structure, to change the face of America. Sal Linsky, Rules for Radicals, look it up. That's why we had this huge influx. Now they need to start to pay the price and the consequences for their actions. And that's all I got to say about
Dave,
that.
Before I let you go, if you don't mind, first of all, very articulate. I got to tell you, the last couple of minutes, I could not have said it better myself. You hit the nail right on the head in every way. I want to ask you one further question, and you tell me if you agree or disagree. You made the point, and you're right. You're completely right. It's time to start putting handcuffs on Mayor Wu, on Governor Healy, on Pritzker in Illinois, on Hochul in New York, on Katie Hobbs in Arizona, on Gavin Newsom in California. And I'm with you all the way. And you said, because then people will know there are consequences and politicians will stop. And you're right. But as I was listening to you, I said, in a way, there's even another reason why I think they should have handcuffs put on them. They are guilty. They have blood on their hands. When you talk about, your friend being killed in a gang initiation by this illegal that came in and they pumped him full of bullets, or that poor other person run over on the road by an illegal who had no business being in our country and no registration, no license, no nothing. And, was a nanny and they got her a high-priced lawyer and she gets off with 90 days community service. These governors are responsible. They have aided and abetted the murder and rape of our citizens. Justice demands that they be arrested. Am I wrong?
What is it with all these sexual pedophiles, predators, and child rapists coming to our state? They landed, of all places, Nantucket. What is going on? And when ICE does get a hold of them, she's going to her own citizenry? That is a mental illness.
Oh, it's
right
sick.
There.
Oh, it's sick. Dave, outstanding call. Outstanding call. Just so that people know, this is a national story. It's international and it's national. For whatever reason, look, there are child rapists, there are pedophiles, molesters in every state that illegals are coming in, okay? Every state is now a border state. Yet people are noticing, for whatever reason, Massachusetts is the number one state in terms of a magnet for pedophiles and child molesters. And just recently, 3 more illegals, the so-called migrants, quote unquote, 3 more of the migrants were arrested on child rape charges. They're in Nantucket. They're in Martha's Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard, that's very well to do, as many of you know. That's a wealthy liberal enclave. Nantucket, ditto, same thing. And it is full, not just of illegals, but what ICE is saying is there's a massive child sex trafficking network. There's a lot of illegal child rapists and molesters, illegal aliens, who are drawn to mass and coming to mass more than other states. And Healy is not only welcoming them in, and Elizabeth Warren is welcoming them in, and Michelle Wu is welcoming them in to Boston. But to everybody, to the whole country now, I want you to think of this. They say they're going to send the police to defend them against ICE. They literally say we are going to put rapists, felons, child traffickers, child molesters, their rights against ICE, which is trying to keep people like the future Laken Rileys of the world safe, keeping people in the community safe, keeping fellow citizens safe. And these scumbags are going to side with them, with the criminal illegals, the rapists and the murderers and the felons, against law-abiding citizens like you and me, in defiance of ICE. And the shocking thing is that the crazy moonbats, not just here, in New York, in Illinois, in Arizona, in California, yeah, that's our Maura. That's our Michelle. Yeah, that's our Gavin Pritzker. We love you, baby. They're sick. I'm telling you, these liberals are sick. 617, am I wrong? 617-266-6868. Lisa in Belmont. Thanks for holding, Lisa, and welcome.
Yes, I followed this case intensely on Court TV. It got me so upset. I posted something on my Facebook wall. I don't know if you saw it or not, just to see what the response would be. I also wrote on comments that I think Biden should have been in that courtroom charged with murder. The liberals, there aren't many on my Facebook page, but the things they said, statistically, there are more citizens committing crimes than illegals. Half of them haven't even heard of this case. They don't even watch the news. And it just made me sick. It's sickening what's going on. I don't know how to describe it. It got me so upset I cried yesterday when I saw the poor parents of that young girl having to look at that piece of crap in that courtroom. It just made me sick.
Well, Lisa, and I really share everything what you just said, because I saw the same thing. And to see the parents crying, and he's just there, look how indifferent he was. Look at him. Cold as ice. By the way, he confessed. He essentially confessed. And the siblings crying and the friends crying, everybody groveling and crying in front of this guy. And he just stands there and he knows he's not going to get the death penalty. And almost like mocking our justice system. 649 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very, very quickly, because many of you have been asking me this through the text line or messaging me or emailing the Kuhner man. Okay, so Jose Ibarra is a member of Tren de Aragua. It is it's a Venezuelan gang, as you know. They were terrorizing Aurora, Colorado. Those are the ones that took over the apartment complexes. They are one of the most lethal, murderous, dangerous, frankly, violent, sadistic gangs on the planet. They are a rival of MS-13. He came in through the southern border. He committed numerous crimes in Venezuela, was arrested, spent time in prison. Venezuela has Maduro has emptied the prisons and told Tren de Aragua, get the hell out of here, go El Norte, go to the United States. That's why so many of them in the last couple of years have flooded our country. He came in illegally through right near El Paso, Texas. Now, he was fingerprinted. This is what's amazing. Biden and Harris flew him on our dime to the sanctuary city of New York. In New York, he was arrested for endangering the life of a child. He was then fingerprinted. And it came back, this guy has a rap sheet as long as, Jeff Kuhner's arm. He's a member of Tren de Aragua. He's a murderer. He's a child rapist. He's a rapist. He brutalizes women. And they did nothing. They didn't even tell ICE because of their sanctuary city policies. They let him out on the street. And then to add insult to injury, because now he's claiming he's a migrant. He wants to be paroled. He's a refugee. They literally gave him, this is the Biden-Harris regime, they gave him an effing work permit. Sorry, the F-bomb, it almost came out of my mouth. Sorry, I'm hot, I'm upset, I'm angry, so I got to be careful. I don't want to get myself fined. They gave him a work permit. And based on that, they said, well, he says, you know what? He thinks he'll find more work in Georgia. So they paid for a flight, called a humanitarian flight, on our dime, taxpayer funded. That's how we ended up in Georgia. We paid for this guy to fly to Georgia under Biden-Harris. And he's a sexual predator. And he saw Laken Riley, and what the media is not reporting is for Tren de Aragua and some of these other violent third world gangs, raping or sleeping with an American woman, that's like mounting the head of a big game on your wall. It's a real notch in your belt. So he saw an attractive young woman, Laken Riley, guess she was his type, and she was jogging, and he stalked her, he tracked her down, it was all premeditated. And then in the wooded area, he pounced like an animal, and he brutalized this poor girl. Woman, forgive me, I say girl affectionately. This poor young woman. And for 18 minutes, he strangled her. She fought to breathe. She fought for her life. She tried to fight him off. And then eventually he overpowered her. And in a sadistic, one of the most sadistic, heinous ways, I don't even want to describe it on the air. Really, you're going to throw up your breakfast. He killed her. And that son of a bee, they give him a translator in the courtroom. He's put on weight in prison because he's so freaking well fed, because he likes the Southern fried chicken and the mashed potatoes and gravy and the cornbread. And he stands there cold as ice. The guy's a sociopath. You can see that. And the grandparents are mourning. They're sobbing right there. The parents are sobbing. The siblings are sobbing. The friends are sobbing. You can tell, devastated. Their hearts shattered. They're never going to be the same again. This is why I always say this when it comes to crime. There's not just one victim. Of course, Laken Riley's the primary victim. You think her parents are going to be the same again? You think her siblings? That hole is never going to be filled. And this Soros-backed DA, again, another liberal, comes out and says, oh, no, I'm not asking for the death penalty. This case cries out for seriously, if this doesn't call for the death penalty, nothing does. And her argument is, no, it's going to have collateral consequences for the undocumented community. In other words, if we put him in jail for life, it won't be as bad. But my God, if you put him on death row, this could lead to a backlash towards all these illegals. We can't have that. By the way, nothing would happen to the undocumented community, quote unquote. It's just an excuse to spare this guy's life. Who speaks for Lake and Riley? Who speaks for the parents? Who speaks for the grandparents? Who speaks for the siblings? Now, just very quickly, because this is the sick argument liberals make. So notice how they put ideology over human beings, actual human beings. And it's a sick response. Lisa is right in Belmont, the last caller. You see this human tragedy, and this is your response. But illegals commit less crimes overall than regular Americans. Oh, we're so smart. I mean, I'm a liberal. I'm so smart. Okay, number one, that's a lie. Illegals commit 100% crimes. Why? They came in illegally. So they're all criminals. They came in illegally, okay? So that's number one. So they commit more crimes than every American. That's than regular citizens and Americans. That's numero uno. Number two, most statistics regarding illegals are skewed and flawed. Why? Because many crimes committed by illegals go unreported. Do you know how many murders by illegals are not reported? Or burglaries? Or rapes? Or child rape or molestation? Or carjackings? Or identity fraud? Welfare fraud? Employment fraud? It's not reported. So if they actually reported the real statistics, it would be way higher than average Americans. And then the third, and to me, the checkmate argument. Your argument is irrelevant. Whether illegals commit more crimes or not than regular Americans, who cares? The fact of the matter is, Jose Ibarra should not have been in the United States. Period. Full stop. It was an unnecessary crime. It should not and need not have happened. I'm not going to get into, crime is generally 8% in the general American population, but only 6% among illegals. Who cares? They're not supposed to be in our country to begin with. Ipso facto, had they just done their job, Lake and Riley would be alive today. And this is what I find really sick and perverse. And if somebody could explain this to me, I'd really appreciate it, honestly. Because I can't think like a crazy moonbat. You care more about this serial child molester, rapist, and murderer and his rights than you do about Lake and Riley and her family? A fellow American citizen who never did anything to you? You know, if you have a daughter, your daughter has dreams. She had dreams. She wanted to be a nurse. If you were in the hospital or you were in an accident, or she'd be the one taking care of you. But you side with this scumbag over her? There's something I don't understand. There's something mentally wrong with you. All of you on the left who can't see this. Michelle Wu is a traitor and a criminal, and she needs to be arrested. Maura Healey is a traitor and a criminal who needs to be arrested. Gavin Newsom is a traitor and a criminal, and he needs to be arrested. Eric Adams, that scumbag, it was his sanctuary city that allowed Ibarra to come in, is a traitor and a criminal and should be arrested. Kathy Hochul is a traitor and a criminal who should be arrested. Pritzker, that slob, is a traitor and a criminal who should be arrested. Katie Hobbs, the governor of Arizona, is a disgrace, is a traitor and a criminal who should be arrested. And I hope Tom Homan is listening, Tom, I love you. Don't take this the wrong way. I love you. I support you, not 100, but as the Kuhner man likes to say, 1,000%. But I think you should say a little more than there will be consequences if they stand in the way or obstruct justice or harbor criminal illegal aliens, which is a felony. You need to clearly say, we are going to slap the handcuffs and we're going to arrest your ass. So you know the consequences ahead of time. I send in ICE. You send the local police to block us. We're arresting the cops and we're arresting you. So I'm telling the cops, it's an unlawful order, stand down. And to the mayor and the governor, we're going to put the handcuffs on you. Because you're not going to put murderers and rapists ahead of the American people. Maybe your sick left-wing base supports that. The American people don't. We won this election. We won it decisively. Over 70% of Americans support us on this. We have a mandate. Get the hell out of the way and shut your mouth. What happened to Laken Riley should never happen again. And what Trump and Homan now have is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to finally secure our country from this invasion that has taken away so many American lives. It has to stop, and it has to stop now. Agree, disagree. Robert in Middlesex. Thanks for holding, Robert, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi,
Jeff?
Robert. Yes, Robert, go ahead.
You know what? A movement, Laken Riley, say her name across the country. Go to the houses of these clowns, Wu, Healy, Laken Riley, say her name.
You know, Robert, the sad thing is they don't even know her name. They don't care to know her name. That's what's amazing. They don't want to say her name. I'm going to play you the cut. I don't want to, I want to take some calls now, but I'm telling you, I'll play you the cut. Over the weekend, she goes on local TV. This is Mayor Wu. Okay, and they're all doing it. Doesn't matter. It's Adams in New York. It's Brandon Johnson in Chicago. It's this clown now in L.A. They have this moonbat crazy mayor there. That's now a full-blown sanctuary city. And they're like, we're going to protect all the illegals. Sorry, the migrants. We're going to protect all the migrants. All our residents, all the migrants. No, this is our community. So they don't give a damn about Laken Riley. They don't give a damn about Joycelyn Nungare. They don't give a damn about Rachel Morin. I could go on and on and on. They don't give a damn about Matthew Denise, for example, in this state. They don't give a damn. To them, they're just collateral damage for their open borders, globalist, Marxist agenda. The New World Order, that's what they bow down to, Robert. And how many Americans die? Who cares? Really, I'm serious. It's like Stalin or Hitler. It's all about communism or fascism. It's who cares? It's collateral damage. So you can even tell the way they argue. Well, we commit less crimes. I mean, it's the stupidest argument I ever heard in my life. They shouldn't be here, period, full stop. You protect your own family first. You protect your own citizens first. You protect your own country first. I mean, it's human nature. It's basic compassion. It's basic decency. So, Robert, that's the sad thing. You go to Mayor Wu's house, say her name. She'll be like, what? Is that a new band? What? Go ahead, Robert. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you know what? I still think it's, excuse me, something that we should do anyway. Say her name. Wu, say Laken Riley's name. And she won't. And it'll expose her for the fraud and the piece of POS that she is.
Robert, what we have to do, and I see where you're going with this, and I really agree with your sentiment completely. We have to start shaming these people. Like really, truly shaming these people because they're just playing to the gallery now. Michelle Wu is playing to the Boston Globe. Believe it, I'm serious. You know that idiot thinks she has presidential aspirations or maybe Senate aspirations? That's why Michelle Wu is doing this. Like, they're all trying now to out-moonbat each other, out-never Trump each other. That's what this all is, all across the country. That's what this vanguard is. Katie Hobbs is thinking she wants to go higher. Newsom wants to run in 2028 for president. Hochul thinks she has a shot. So everybody now is trying to out-resist the other. So they're just playing to the gallery. And we've got to shame them. We've got to absolutely shame them. And if need be, arrest them and slap the handcuffs and throw them behind bars. Because they're playing Russian roulette with your life, Robert, my life, all of our lives. Robert, thank you very much for that call. Laura in Carver, thanks for holding, Laura, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you for allowing me to weigh in on this subject matter today.
Go ahead.
Jeff, what I would like you and Sandy and Mike to do is please Google Vanessa Marcotte. She has been forgotten. I know we have Matthew Denise, God bless his soul, but Vanessa Marcotte, the exact same thing happened to her as Laken Riley. Vanessa Marcotte lived in New York. She came back to Massachusetts, I believe somewhere in Western Mass, to visit her mother on a beautiful weekend. She was out jogging. She was a beautiful girl, out jogging, and an illegal bastard did exactly to her what this POS did to Laken Riley. And this happened under Charlie, I hate Trump, Baker's tenure. And what did we just have? We just had Deaton, okay, who ran as a Republican, who said, I will never support Trump. So this morning, Tom Homan is my hero, and I think we need Paul Kersey justice in this country until these idiot politicians get it through their thick heads that we're not going to allow this to happen to our children, our daughters, and our kids.
Laura, I want to ask you, you're completely right, okay? You hit the nail right on the head. I couldn't have said it better myself. What is it about Democrats, liberals, and rhinos? Because you mentioned Charlie Baker, you mentioned John Deaton. Look, I can mention Amy Carnevale, the chair of the Mass GOP, the dirty, vicious campaign that she and her media allies at the Boston Herald and someone else I won't speak of, who went after Matthew Denise's mother, who, by the way, ran on the Tom Homan immigration border plan. She said exactly what Tom Homan now wants to do. And, and she's the one that came out and said, yeah, we got to seal the border, start deporting all these illegals, start going after sanctuary city governors and mayors. And they vilified her. These are Republicans, these rhinos. And her opponent vilified her like you wouldn't believe. They called her every name in the book. Okay, they slandered that poor woman who lost her son. So I want to ask you this, Laura. What is it about them? No, really, seriously, that they refuse to speak up on behalf of the Laken Rileys or the Marcottes or the Rachel Morans or the Joycelyn Nungares of our state and of our country? Like, really, what's wrong with them? Why do they seem to always side with illegals against us?
You know, Jeff, the word evil has been used over and over and over. These people are wolves in sheep's clothing. All they care about their job security, their gated communities, their gated houses, their protection. That's why I'm saying, if things don't change, I have to tell you, Paul Kersey justice is going to have to be needed, because if I was in that courtroom, Jeff, I would have lunged at that. I can't say it because you'll blank me off the air. I would have lunged at him. I would have went for his eyeballs. You know,
Laura, I got to tell you, I got to be careful too. Because I was thinking, I'm watching and all I'm just thinking is that SOB with that smirk on his face. Oh, look at him. Ice water in his veins. No remorse, nothing. You could see it on him. And I'm just thinking, man, I don't know how they're controlling themselves in that courtroom. Because if it was me, I would have gone for his throat. Honest to God. Just like you. I would have lunged across there and I would have said, I don't care. Arrest me. I don't care. I'm going to get a couple shots in on this guy. I'm going to take that smirk off his face. Laura, thank you very much for the call and for your honesty. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. Some justice for Laken Riley, as President Trump said. The man responsible for her brutal death, Jose Ibarra, was found guilty on all 10 counts. He has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He could have gotten the death penalty, but the George Soros district attorney didn't want to do it. So let me throw this log on the fire. Did this animal, does he deserve the electric chair? Does he deserve the death penalty? I say yes. What say you? 720 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. So, look, just very quickly, because I want to stay on Laken Riley and I want to stay on the big issue, which is this resistance that you're seeing now from all of these Democratic governors, blue state mayors, from California to Arizona to Illinois to New York, and of course here in the People's Republic of Massachusetts. I look at Maureen Maloney. She was the mother of Matthew Denise, and she ran for the Massachusetts GOP state committee. And her platform was exactly that of Donald Trump's and Tom Homan's on sanctuary cities, on mass deportations, on securing the border. And what did the disgusting rhinos in this state do? Led, by the way, by the Boston Herald and some other people who I shall not name. They called her a termite. They called her a cockroach. They said she was part of the so-called lunatic fringe, the Kool-Aid cult, who needed to be destroyed and gotten rid of permanently. A mother who lost her son to an illegal alien. A Venezuelan who never should have been in this country ran her son over. He was drunk as a skunk. Okay, the illegal was driving drunk as a skunk and ran over poor Matthew Denise and dragged his body underneath that truck. And this poor woman comes out and says, we need to secure our borders and sanctuary cities and start deporting all of these illegals. And these filthy, disgusting rhinos ran this vilification, defamation campaign because they wanted to keep lining their pockets. And I said at the time, and I'm going to say it now, there are some lines in life you don't cross. You don't like her as a candidate. You want to run against her. This is America. Fine. Live and let live. She's a bad candidate, Jeff. She's not articulate. She's not experienced. She's whatever. She ran before and lost. That's all okay. We need someone else. Someone else is a better choice. That's fine. But they didn't do that. They maligned her. They smeared her. They humiliated her. They tried to grind her into dust. And notice, and that's what I've noticed about this state, and I'm telling you it's a cancer on the Republican Party here and across the entire country. They're not even 1/10 as tough on the Democrats as they are on real Trump MAGA conservatives like Maureen Maloney. Have you ever seen, John Deaton, Charlie Baker, Chris Doty, the Boston Herald, I could go on and on, Amy Carnevale, that charlatan, have they ever said anything remotely approaching what they called Maureen Maloney? Did they say that about Healy? Did they say that about Elizabeth Warren? Have they ever called Democrats cockroaches, termites, the Kool-Aid cult, a crazy fringe. They never, ever, ever come anywhere near attacking Democrats with the same ferocity and viciousness like they do when they go after real Trump conservatives. And that tells you everything you need to know. Because the rhinos are political whores. They're shameless opportunists. From Mitt Romney all the way down to Charlie Baker, I could go on and on, to Mitch McConnell, to Lisa Murkowski, to Susan Collins. I could go on and on. Now, hey, to Carnivale, go write another letter to the FCC trying to get me taken off the air. You thug, you phony, you fraud, you. Okay, and all you other sycophants that hide in the shadows at the Herald. And you know who you are. You're pathetic. You're pathetic, all of you. Seriously. And your greed is what's going to do you in. I'm telling you. You're going to choke on all that greed. Because in the end, they're bought and paid for. In the end, the reason why they don't want illegals really deported is because they're being bought and paid for by their corporate masters. Money talks. Big business wants cheap labor. Corporate America wants cheap labor. The Chamber of Commerce wants cheap labor. The lobbyists and the globalists want cheap labor. And how many Americans die in the process? Hey, as Maura Healey said, when those illegals were arrested, that she invited in, for raping children. We're talking now child rape. You know what her answer was? Hey, from time to time, things happen, quote unquote. From time to time, hey, it happens. What can I tell you? Kids get raped. What am I supposed to tell you? Tommy in West Virginia. Thanks for holding, Tommy, and welcome.
Jeff, I've listened to the arguments about the death penalty through the years. And, I always hear that, well, the death penalty, I hate the sound on South Park, but the death penalty is not a deterrent. Well, maybe it's not, according to statistics. However, the death penalty will do one thing. This maggot from Venezuela, if he were to get the chair, I'd prefer the rope, to be honest with you, will never murder again. And the other way that if I had Tom Holman's ear, I would tell him, number one, here's how you can deal with deporting people. We need to use the term self-deportation.
Tommy, please hang on. I agree with you. And I think I know where you're going with this. And it's opening up a whole new angle that I want to discuss as well. So hang on, short break, and we're back. Don't touch that dial. 7:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to go right back to Tommy in West Virginia. Laken Riley's murderer, found guilty on all 10 counts. He, however, will not be getting the death penalty, which to me is a travesty of justice, but he will be sentenced. He has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Tommy, please pick up where you left off.
Okay. We really need to start using the term self-deportation. Okay, it's a narrative. I get it. But here's the point. One, like I said, if I had Tom Holman's ear for 5 minutes, I would tell him, here's how you deal with Maura Healey and people like her. Withhold as many federal funds as you possibly can from the state of Massachusetts because you're not following a federal order. The other thing is, and here is where organized labor, the AFL-CIO during the Clinton administration, begged him to pass E-Verify. I repeat, the unions for decades, that especially the carpenters union, because out in California, Guess who was doing their jobs at lower wages and no benefits? People from south of the border. And no, I'm not picking on I love Mexican food. I love the Mexican culture. All right? But that is the reality. So if they would do those two things, you would see a lot of these freeloaders that would just say, you know something, it's time to go. And honestly, I think a humanitarian, I think.
Tommy, you're breaking up on us, Tommy, but you got your point across, and to me, that's all that mattered. And thank you for that call, Tommy. Yeah, look, I agree. Look, there's another angle to all of this in terms of deporting illegals. Yes, I'm all for the military. I'm all for ICE. I'm all for federal law enforcement going in, breaking up these gangs, drug trafficking networks, detaining them, deporting them, imprisoning them, all of it. No question about it. But there's not just hard power. There's also soft power. And I think there's two ways that we could, self-deport. We could drive millions out of the country. And number one is E-Verify. And not just E-Verify, but, throw down the gauntlet, put out a notice. Every employer, I don't care, big, small, mid-sized business, large business, I don't care. You hire an illegal alien. We find out you're hiring illegals, we're going to hit you with a multi-million-dollar fine per illegal. So it's not worth it. You're going to lose your shirt. So cut them loose. Cut them loose. Now, once they start losing their jobs, then what are they going to do? They have no money. And you have to crack down on welfare for illegals. If you deny them welfare and you deny them free housing and free shelter and free food stamps and free health care and free education and what are they going to do? They can't get a job and they can't suck on the public teat anymore. They can't gorge at the public trough anymore. Well, now you've cut them all off completely. All of their all their financial ties gone. So back you go. And once people see that millions are leaving, the word is going to get out. So we're going to sell our homes. I'm just going to pick a country randomly. Guatemala. Okay. We're going to sell our home here in Guatemala to give to these to these coyotes and these human traffickers, the cartels, to smuggle us into the United States only for us to get kicked out? Nah, we'd better stay. So it's not just going in heavy. I agree, go in heavy and send in ICE, law enforcement, and the military. You do what you got to do because this is an invasion and you have to stop the invasion and deport the invaders. But you also hit them on the back end. You go after the companies that hire them, and you go after every sanctuary city or state that is illegally giving them welfare. And if you cut off all their money, and you cut off their jobs, and you cut off all their financial social assistance, they have nowhere else to go but back home. Agree, disagree? Heather in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Heather, and welcome.
Hi, Jeffrey. How are you today? Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure, Heather.
I have a few comments and, I guess a question. First of all, why can't Trump, when he gets in office, find these countries like Venezuela that deport all their illegals to our country, the criminals to our country? I don't know if that's possible, but that's an idea. And the other question I have is, why is it that illegals are allowed to inherit property or inherit like probate, inherit probate, and allowed to buy property in the U.S.? Like, I don't think that should be allowed.
I agree.
Especially like if she gets half and his heirs have to split it, and he's only been married to this person for 5 years. Well, I don't understand that.
No, Heather, look.
And she has a warrant out for her arrest too, by the way. So she's like kind of scammed,
Well, that's the problem. You see, you nailed it. We're being scammed. And we've got to stop being scammed. And, to bring it back to Laken Riley's death. But I'm going to answer your question, I promise, Heather. This guy scammed his way into the country. Biden and Harris allowed him into the country. Liberals allowed him into the country. They proudly allowed him into the country. And he scammed his way to New York. And then he scammed his way to Georgia. And then he brutally murdered Laken Riley. And he still got that smile on his face. Mr. Tough Guy. So that's the problem. Heather, in the end, look, I'm going to be very candid, like I'm in the confessional. This is an issue of self-respect. I don't hire illegals. I don't deal with illegals. I don't buy from illegals. I don't marry illegals. I don't do business with illegals. I just don't. To me, I'm sorry, it's wrong, it's immoral. They have no business being in our country, period, full stop. They're illegal. I'm not talking about people who come in as tourists. I'm not talking about people who come in on work visas or student visas. That's different. That's okay. You're here, country, illegally. There's been a background check. We've checked. We're making sure we're not bringing in people who are dangerous or criminals or rapists or terrorists or, okay. So, and then fine. You want to study? Look, it's a free open society. I'm all for it. You want to come here and work? That's fine. You want to marry someone? Look, people tell me all the time, Jeff, I met someone overseas. You know the paperwork, the visas, the lawyers, the money we got to spend to bring that person over so I can, get engaged and marry that person. And the background, which is fine. You have to do that. Look, Heather, I'm again, let me be honest with you like I'm in the confessional. I came here on a work visa to the United States. Then I became a permanent resident, green card, and then I became a citizen. I had drug tests. I had criminal background checks. They checked me from A to Z. I'm not complaining. They should do that. But what I'm saying is the way a legal immigrant to this country is treated compared to these illegals, it's disgusting. It's truly disgusting. And I'm telling you, that's what you saw in this election. Look up the statistics. Legal, naturalized American citizens, legal immigrants to this country, legal immigrants, voted for Trump overwhelmingly versus Kamala Harris. Because almost every man or woman to a T says, hey, the hoops we had to jump through, the money we had to pay, we do it all over again. We're not complaining. But we're just comparing that to how these illegals were treated by Kamala and Biden. So, no, if you're an illegal in this country, you shouldn't inherit anything. You shouldn't be allowed to own anything. Why? Because you shouldn't be allowed to be here. You shouldn't have a job. You shouldn't have any income. You shouldn't be on welfare. You shouldn't get one social benefit or social assistance whatsoever. The only thing you deserve is a one-way ticket back home. That's it. That's it. Now, as for Venezuela being sanctioned, Trump is going to sanction Venezuela. He should sanction Venezuela because Maduro is an enemy of the United States. He's a thug. He's a socialist, communist thug who has deliberately emptied his prisons and mental institutions to kill Americans here. So his regime should be badly sanctioned, and he needs to understand that we're not going to tolerate that. The problem is you can't sanction every country that is allowing illegals to come in because over 100 countries are allowing their people to come in because we've opened our doors. So what are you going to do, sanction half the world? And so I return to this point, Heather. This is about our self-respect. You would never allow squatters to just pour into your home. Out of self-respect for yourself and your family. That's what we've allowed to happen. It's time to kick all the squatters out. 750 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very, very quick, as you need to know exactly what is happening. As I mentioned, there is a vanguard of 5 states, deep blue states, that are forming what they say the wall of resistance against Trump and his and borders are Tom Homan, both of them, and their the incoming administration, their desire to now declare a national emergency and begin the greatest, largest mass deportation of illegal aliens in the history of the United States. Gavin Newsom, in many ways, is the leader, but he's being backed by Pritzker in Illinois, Kathy Hochul in New York, Katie Hobbs in Arizona, and Healy in Massachusetts. Now, it is getting so bad here in Mass. You know how Eric Adams became a household name? You know, the crazy moonbat mayor of New York. Sanctuary City, the damage it did to New York, the crime, the drugs, the murders, the homicides, the gangs, that Adams became a household name. This is starting to happen now to Michelle Wu. Michelle Wu is now being talked about all the time on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, CBS, ABC as a national figure like Adams. But in this case, Michelle Wu is now saying she is going to help lead the resistance. Homan and Michelle Wu are now openly clashing in public. Listen now to Tom Homan saying he is going to go after all the illegals in every sanctuary state, every sanctuary city, and if they try to resist and block him, he will not be denied. They may try to set up a confrontation. Homan will not back down. Roll cut 11, Mike.
For any governor or mayor who doesn't want public safety threats taken out of their communities, you should resign your office because your number one responsibility is protect those communities. We have ways of finding people. I'm not going to explain it here on national TV because of law enforcement sensitive, but we will find many of these folks. They will be arrested, they'll be detained, and they'll be removed. And so, because what these facilities do, and get back in the sanctuary cities, they don't want us in the jails, which means we got to go to the community and find them. So these sanctuary cities are putting officers at risk because rather than the safety and security of a jail, we can take them into custody easily. Now we got to send a team to the street to arrest him on his turf. We have access to who knows what weapons. It puts the officer at great risk. It puts the alien at great risk. It puts the community at great risk, and they're going to force our hand on this. So I want to pray every night that men and women of ICE go home to their families every night after taking the bad guys off the street.
I mean, that was on the Laura Ingraham show. And Laura was saying in the background, as he was talking, unbelievable. She's right. It's unbelievable. This is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So this is now what's going to happen in LA and in Chicago and in Phoenix and in New York City and here in Boston that we know for sure. We have criminals. And I don't mean, Jeff, they're here illegally. I'm talking violent criminal felons. Okay? People like Jose Ibarra, murderers, rapists, child molesters. And instead of saying, we're going to hold them in jail for you so you guys can come and grab them because they're here illegally and they're killing people or raping women, and then you can either jail them or deport them or whatever. No, they're going to let them back out onto the streets. So now ICE has to hunt them down. Now think of not only does it put ICE agents at risk because these are violent thugs, so arresting them is not a guarantee that it'll be peaceful. Many will resist arrest, and who knows, maybe could shoot back, fire back. They have a machete, whatever. But they go back into our communities. So now our lives are threatened again. In other words, Jose Ibarra, they let him out. Then he goes to Georgia and kills Laken Riley. So now they let him out, and God knows what they're going to do into our communities. Now, Michelle Wu came out. This is unbelievable. Okay, like Newsom and Pritzker. I told you, everybody's trying now to out-moonbat each other. So, the mayor of Boston, radical leftist. Okay, we're talking BLM and Antifa all the way, comes out and says that she is now going to order city police, Boston police, to stand their ground and protect and shield every illegal alien living within the jurisdiction of Boston. And of course, when asked, well, hold on. Holman says he's getting, ICE is coming in, the feds are coming in. So what? We're going to have local police have a standoff against the feds? Like, what? They're going to start shooting each other? Like, how far are you willing to go? Listen now. This is Michelle Wu in a weekend interview on local TV. Roll cut 11A. Mike.
What will Boston's response be if these mass deportations take place?
Yeah, look, elections have consequences, and the federal government is responsible for a certain set of actions, and cities, no individual city can reverse or override some parts of that. But what we can do is make sure that we are doing our part to protect our residents in every possible way, that we are not cooperating with those efforts that actually threaten the safety of everyone by causing widespread fear and having large-scale economic impact.
Now, notice, this is a sleight of hand. They all do this. She does it, Adams does it, Pritzker, Hochul, Hobbs, Newsom, Healy, they all do this. Okay, all these Democrat moonbat governors and mayors do this. They say residents. We're going to protect our residents, not our citizens, not law-abiding Americans. No. Notice that sleight of hand. Residents. Meaning, and we all know, illegals. The migrants, as they call them. Because, hey, they have just as much right to be here as you do. So, Holman responds. And he's now warning Wu. He's warning her, like he's warning Hochul, like he's warning Adams, Newsom, Hobbs, and Pritzker. Guys, it's a crime. Literally, he names the section of the law. If you harbor or aid or abet an illegal alien, if you obstruct justice, you're going to go to jail. Like, do you understand? You force our hand, we're going to have to jail you. Listen to Holman now directly respond to Marxist Michelle Wu. Roll cut 11B. Mike.
Defending our residents every possible way. Well, she's not very smart, I'll give her that. Because what I just said is President Trump's going to prioritize public safety threats. What mayor or governor doesn't want public safety threats out of their communities? I mean, that's her number one responsibility, is to protect their communities. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So she helps us, she gets the hell out of the way, because we're going to do it. And look, there's a clear line here, and they can't cross a clear line. I would suggest she read Title 8, United States Code 1324 III, that says, you can't harbor or conceal an illegal alien from foreign law enforcement officers. So I hope she don't cross that line. They can not cooperate, but there are certain laws in place that they can't cross, and I hope she doesn't cross it.
See, I hope she does. That's, with all due respect, Tom, I love you. A brother from another mother. Okay, I love you. And I'm with you on not 100, 1,000%. But no, I hope she crosses that line. She wants to cross the line. She's been crossing the line. And I hope now she crosses the line again. And then you arrest her ass. Like, set an example. Make an example out of Wu and Healy and Newsom and Pritzker and Adams and Hochul and that mayor of Los Angeles, every single one of them. You can't break the law. And not only that, you've got to stop aiding this invasion of our country. Look at Laken Riley, for God's sake. You're going to defend people like Jose Ibarra? You're going to unleash Boston police to defend people like him? Wu is a whack job. It's Michelle Whack Job Wu. I'm telling you, Whacker Wu. She's crazy. She crosses that line. You slap the handcuffs on her and you throw her behind bars. And then let's see how tough she really is. Agree, disagree. Mark in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Very good. How are you, Mark?
Having a blast. There's so much wrong with like this entire thing. If you look at, they always talk about how they, commit fewer crimes. Oh, great. Well, I got one. The AR-15 is responsible for far fewer deaths than baseball bats and kitchen knives, but you want to ban those. And the greater point, though, Jeff, is simply this. There are no consequences to any of these people with the policies that they create. Let's say you or I helped a guy get out of jail, right? And that guy goes out and commits a crime, murders somebody. You and I would be arrested for, felony murder. We aided and abetted a known felon.
Yeah, we're accessories.
That resulted in someone's death.
Oh, right. Mark, you're dead on. We're accessories to murder. You're completely right.
Until there are consequences for these politicians, and I get it, okay? We're not going to get criminal charges, but if Lake and Riley's mother could turn around and sue the city of New York for $500 million in a wrongful death suit, that might start to make these people wake up. When they're bankrupted the whole city because their policies keep resulting in people's deaths, and they keep getting sued, and they keep getting found liable for their policies creating these messes, you might see things start to change. But, and you had said we need to shame them. Jeff, for them to be shamed, they have to actually have shame first. These people don't care. I'm surprised that Wu didn't just say, we have to protect our voters. Residents.
Mark, I want to ask you, because you're obviously very perceptive and very insightful. Is this a show that Michelle Wu and Healy and, Pritzker and Newsom and Katie Hobbs and the whole gang, is this a show that they're putting on? In other words, puff their chests. Everybody's running for 2028. They've all got big ambitions, presidential ambitions, but they don't really mean what they're saying. They know they're just going to do some political theater, but that eventually they'll have to back down. The deportations will take place, and they're just going to, they're just playing to their base, pretending like they're doing something. Or do you think they really are full mooners? That they really believe that, Sanctuary City is a sanctuary city and you can't come in, and basically Michelle Wu is now the president of her own country called Boston? Are they that arrogant and that full of pride and hubris? Or is it all just a show?
Of them, it's a show just to say, I'm on your side, I'm like you, I'm super woke, I can go after Trump, I'll defy him. But I think people like Wu are so invested and are so just in love with the idea of being this ultra progressive leftist hack that they worship at the altar of hating this nation, and they worship, just the mere notion that people stand up and say, oh, she's the kind of person I want to be. They are so over the top with this crap, Jeff. And there are no consequences for it. And until there are, nothing's going to change. They're going to continue down this road. They're going to keep calling for these things. They're going to keep allowing these people to come in. And they're going to keep letting murderers out onto the street because they simply don't care.
Mark, she orders Boston police, Boston PD, stand your ground. ICE is now, we've got reports now that say it's 2 days after January 20th. ICE is now launching a massive raid. They're going after criminal illegals, say in, downtown Boston. I'm just going to make something up here. And no, we're not going to cooperate. They can't come in. They're not allowed to touch any of our residents. I'm ordering the Boston police. You're going to shield these illegals. Does Boston police obey the order? Do they draw their guns? Does ICE draw their guns? Is she setting up a possible violent confrontation between the Boston police and ICE?
I've talked to a couple guys that I know that are on the Boston police, and they've told me that a lot of them, if they know what day it's going to happen, a lot of them are going to call in sick. And they'll go to where they're supposed to go, and that's all they're going to do. They'll just stand there. A lot of them have said, Jeff, that they will have to go to where she tells them to go, and then that's it. They're not going to do anything else. They're not going to get in the way because they know that federal law trumps it. Trumps it. And that they're going to have to allow the federal agents to do what they need to do. And a lot of them don't want these people on the streets. It makes their jobs harder. It puts their lives at risk every single day that these criminals are allowed to walk among us.
Mark, as always, outstanding call. Thank you for that call, Mark. In other words, she's bluffing. I think Mark is right. Or she may believe what she's saying, but she doesn't have the muscle to back it up. Because I agree with Mark. I think most cops, local cops, they may show up. Yeah, okay, I don't want to lose my job. But guys, I'm not drawing my gun. Hey, I'm not getting shot for Michelle Wu. I'm not going to have a confrontation with ICE when I know federal law trumps local law. Like, guys, we have no authority even to be here. So I think most police are going to stand down. But the fact that the left is even considering this, you want to talk insurrection? Holy mackerel. Denise in Beverly. Thanks for holding, Denise, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Denise?
I'm doing good. I want to say a couple things. First of all, I did call Wu's office yesterday after the Lake and Riley trial. And because there has been 3 rapes in Massachusetts, and Haley hasn't done nothing about it, and she's not gonna. And I hope that Trump's new, what's his name, Suman? What's his name, Tom?
Tom Homan, Homan. Homan.
I hope he does his job, and I hope they arrest it if they don't do what they're supposed to do. But I'd like to say something about Lake and Riley. I carried her poster and the 7 other the other 7 victims of the illegals that killed them. And I carried them at the Trump rallies and stuff. And I can't even throw her picture away. I'm keeping that poster of her. It breaks my heart. And you know what, Jeff? He deserved that death penalty. He needs to get that death penalty somehow. Now, if he goes to prison, because I know about this stuff because of my son being in prison, but he has to show that paperwork, what he's in there for. The prisoners will not, they'll make sure that paperwork is shown to all those prisoners to why he's in there. And I'm going to tell you, Jeff, he won't last that long in there. He won't. He's not going to last long. So I don't, death penalty or not, the rape, if they in there for rape, they go after them. And there was one time my son, a kid hung himself because he knew he was in there for rape. And the kid hung himself because he knew that he wasn't going to last long in there. So,
well, Denise, just to confirm what you're saying, many people who work in the prison system and in law enforcement and the criminal justice system in general say, and especially child molesters. I mean, you're right about rapists and others, but these guys that like to go after the kids, criminals hate those guys. Even, I'm telling you, even the felons in there hate those guys. And so you got a guy, a guy like Ibarra with what he's done to children, what he's done to women, what he did to Lake and Riley. Look, unless Trent or Aragua has a presence in the prison they're going to send him into, he's going to be looking over his shoulder. No question about it. He's going to be a marked man. So, but still, I mean, to me, some of these guys survive. Some of these guys last for a couple of years. Honestly, Denise, it offends my dignity that my taxpayer money, your taxpayer money, our taxpayer money, we're going to feed this guy. We're going to give him, 3 hot meals and a bed and gym. He's going to have a workout gym. He's going to have, I'm not kidding. He's going to have, television. He can watch sports. He can subscribe to magazines. He can have computers. He can watch internet pornography. Like, I'm paying for this guy. Wednesday night ice cream. Friday night it's movie night. I'm sorry, man. I don't want to pay for that. I mean, Denise, do you?
You know what, Jeff, too? Healy, what I heard the other day, my son called me. He said that he heard it on I think it was Howie, that Healy would not allow them to break down the doors of the illegals that had drugs in the house. Is that true?
Yes.
Unbelievable, huh? My son said, but they broke my door down because I'm white. You know what? It's crazy. When I left that message with Wu, I talked to a girl yesterday, and I told her exactly how I felt about Healy, about how the drugs, how they're allowing the drugs on the streets, how they don't care. When all these other kids ended up in jail because they have a needle on them, or drugs, a little bit of drugs, or anything, they went to jail. Now they're just allowing these people on the streets. I talked about that, and I talked about Healy getting away with these people in Massachusetts, these illegals that are going to hurt our children one day. And I said, what if it was your child? Or what if it's her relative or her lover or anybody? I said, how's she going to feel then?
Denise, thank you very much for that call. Look, the only slight disagreement I have with you, Denise, is they'll kick your door down, not if you're white. They kick your door down if you're black, if you're brown, Latino, Asian, African American, white, it doesn't matter. If you're a citizen, if you're an American, they kick the door down if they suspect drugs. But if you're an illegal, no. That's a privileged class. Illegals, we shield and we protect. More with your calls next. 8:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Okay, listen now to this. What did I tell you? Everybody now is trying to out-moonbat one another. So, Denver's moonbat mayor. Okay, so now Denver, Colorado is getting in on this. So the mayor of Denver, hardcore moonbat, has now come out and said that not only will Denver remain a sanctuary city, but listen now to this. He now says that he is going to order Denver police to be stationed at the boundary or the jurisdictional line that surrounds Denver. And that he is going to tell the cops they must prevent ICE agents from being allowed to come into Denver in order to launch raids against illegal immigrants, against the illegal aliens. And not only that, he then has come out and said that he's going to urge activists, supporters of illegals, 40, 50, 60, he said 100,000 if need be, to act as a human shield against ICE, federal law enforcement, or the military. And he is now warning Trump. This will be, and this is exact phrase that he used, his words, not mine. This will be, quote, your Tiananmen Square moment. If you remember 1989, communism was falling everywhere. There was a huge pro-democracy movement in China. And the military sent in the tanks to crush these pro-democracy activists right on the streets of Beijing. And so I'm not kidding. Now, this crazy liberal mayor, sanctuary city mayor of Denver, this radical Democrat, has now come out and said illegal aliens are equivalent to the pro-democracy activists in China. And that people in Denver, like himself, are going to stand in front of tanks and stand in front of the military and ICE agents and say, essentially, you have to shoot us or run us over. We're not going to let you into Denver. This is not only blatantly illegal. This is not only open defiance and thumbing your nose at the federal government and at law, at the rule of law, But this is an open, naked insurrection. This is the very definition of an insurrection. This is the very definition of treason, of sedition. They are refusing to accept the lawful victory of President Trump and his mandate to secure the borders and impose the immigration laws of our country, which is the authority of the federal government. So now they're talking about ordering the police to stand against ICE agents and the military. They're basically almost trying to foment a civil war. And telling people, moms and NGOs and illegals themselves, he goes, come and join us, and we'll form a human shield. What did I tell you? They don't want the illegals to go, and they're willing to do anything and everything to stop and block Trump. Now, if I'm president, here's what I tell him. No problem. Throw his ass in jail. That mayor in Denver, throw his ass in jail. Everybody that's showing up, throw their ass in jail. Every police officer that stands there and defies federal authority and federal law enforcement agents, you lose your job on the spot and you throw their ass in jail. Enough is enough. It's time to take the gloves off. We have a right to restore our sovereignty. We have the right to deport criminal, violent, illegal aliens from the streets of our nation. They are siding with Jose Ibarras of our country over the Laken Rileys of this country. You can't make this up. So, if it's a confrontation and showdown that they want, give it to them. Agree, disagree. Scott in Revere. Thanks for holding, Scott, and welcome.
Jeff, I love you in an unsexual way, my friend.
Thank you, Scott. I always love the enthusiasm you always say it with. My friend, what do you make of this?
I'll tell you, Jeff. You know what really, it gets to me like really bad, is that this is blatantly, and when I say, I mean, this law breaking, and then there's blatant law breaking. These moonbats are literally breaking the law even now. So it shouldn't even be when Trump is president. These people are illegal. They are breaking the law, period. And I'll tell you again, there's no such thing as a sanctuary gang city. There's no such thing. They made that term up because I don't know, they're moonbats. They're making terms up. And
oh, Scott, can you please hang on? You're making a brilliant point. He's right. This whole term, sanctuary state, sanctuary city, it's a legal fiction. They just made it up. More next. 8:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull, baby. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. Text line, by the way, 70470, 70470. This is from 603. Jeff, Michelle Wu can claim anything she wants. Here's the thing, however. The Boston police have no authority over the federal agencies. They themselves can at that point be arrested by the feds and brought up on federal charges. The sheriff of the county, on the other hand, does have the authority to order the feds out, but not the municipal police or even state police. Only the sheriff can do that. And even then, a sheriff can tell any mayor or governor to go pound sand. He's the highest authority in his county and only answers to the voters because he's elected. So that's an interesting, very, very interesting point. This is from Eric on Messenger, and I think really hit the nail right on the head. Jeff, anyone, and he's talking now in reference now to this crazy mayor in Denver, this radical Democrat, who now, as you know, it's breaking everywhere, has come out and said he's going to order the Denver Police Department to stand on the jurisdictional line, the boundary, the border of Denver, and prevent ICE agents or the military or the feds from coming into Denver to make raids and arrests of illegal aliens. And not only is he going to order the police to confront and block them, but he's calling for 40, 50, 100,000 people from Denver, residents, to form a human shield, and that this will lead Trump to have his, quote, Tiananmen Square moment. So they're saying they're going to wage all-out resistance. Well, in response to this, Eric writes, Jeff, anyone that resists Trump's deportations should be charged with domestic terrorism by allowing illegal immigrants to terrorize the freedoms of the citizens of America. Bingo. This is naked domestic terrorism, and it's naked insurrection. I mean, this is mass lawlessness and criminality and open sedition. I mean, this is going to make January 6th look like a Sunday picnic. Now, they're just flapping their mouths. Let's see if they actually follow through. But, I mean, that's a lot of tough talk now. And notice the resistance, quote unquote. Notice how it's spreading. So now it's the mayor of Denver. Yesterday was the mayor of L.A. Before that, it was Michelle Wu, the mayor of Boston. So you can see now, the Democrats are not going to allow Trump to implement his agenda come hell or high water. And if I'm President Trump, crack down. Smash that wall of resistance, and it's time to start putting these people in jail. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Okay, very quickly, the Kuhner Country poll question of the day. Sponsored by Mario's. Mario's quality roofing, siding, and windows. Many of you, I think rightly, believe that the convicted murderer now, he was convicted yesterday on all 10 counts, of the gruesome, horrific murder of Laken Riley, should have been given the death penalty. They took the death penalty off the table, and so Jose Ibarra got life in prison, life sentence, without the possibility of parole. But many of you say, Jeff, no, he should have gotten the death sentence. I agree with you. Many of you are also saying it's a time to return to public execution. That this would act as a real powerful deterrent and would really mete out justice to people like Jose Ibarra. So let me ask all of you, it is the $64,000 question. Should we restore public executions? Should we, do you support returning public executions? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage, WRKO.com/Kuhner, WRKO.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in National ER. You can also vote via X. I'm very active on X. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN as in National ER. It's all on the table. What should Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, and President-elect Trump do on January 20th when they're inaugurated, when they're faced by massive resistance from Denver, Boston, New York, Chicago, L.A.? They're now saying, we're going to order our police. They will stand and block the feds, and we'll even have tens of thousands of people come out as human shields. We will not let you detain, arrest, or deport criminal illegal aliens. What should President Trump do? Sue in Maine. Thanks for holding, Sue, and welcome.
Jeff, for taking my call.
My pleasure. Go ahead, Sue.
First of all, don't these moonbats know that the gravy train is over? You know, they're not going to get any more funding for this kind of stuff. And I hope to God that the feds, due to the management teams and the owners of these hotels and condos that took these people in, that canceled people's weddings, canceled people's, reservations for games and shows and stuff like that we all heard about last year. And I hope they give them the same boot out the door as they do these illegals.
Sue, I'm just curious, if you had Tom Homan's ear or President Trump's ear, and, he's now president, okay? It's January 20th, January 21, and he's sending in ICE. He's going to, fulfill his promise to start deporting first the most dangerous of these criminal illegals, and then eventually every illegal alien. And these mayors, like in Denver, like Michelle Wu here in Boston, start ordering police to block them, to stand in their way, to patrol the borderline, to say even to resist, and then urging citizens, even illegals, to form massive human shields and say, basically, you got to run us over. You got to go through us to get to the illegals. What should Trump do?
Well, it's kind of a war of attrition, as far as I'm concerned. If he just starves them out, surrounds them, and doesn't let any delivery trucks in, believe me, the citizens would be revolting against these people in no time.
Interesting. And you're saying definitely cut off all federal funding on the spot, right?
Yep, cut off everything. Don't let any food trucks come in to these mayors. Don't let anything. Shut off their power. Boy, it won't take long.
Sue, thank you very much for that call. Look, at a minimum, you cut off all federal funding. You put out arrest warrants for all of these mayors, all of these governors. And I agree with Sue. I mean, you got to bring in the military. And if need be, you just surround these people and, within a week to 10 days, they'll collapse like a house of cards. And then you got to start making mass arrests. You're going to protect rapists and felons who are in this country illegally? I don't think so. Stephen in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Stephen, and welcome.
Hello, Jeff.
Hi, Stephen.
Yeah, Democrats need to be arrested. In Massachusetts, it's not just illegal aliens that get to walk free after committing rape. They don't prosecute rape. It's very rare that they prosecute rape. A case will go on for over 20 years without even getting to court, and then that child rapist will get caught 23 years later raping a disabled child in, a hairdressing salon. That's one of the cases that, they don't care. They keep releasing these jerks time and time again. Predators. That's what they are, predators. They are criminally insane people. And the state of Massachusetts just lets them walk free, and they are totally sick. They only care about putting money in their pockets. That's why they're shutting down jails. That's why they appoint judges that keep letting these jerks free. The state legislature, they say it's not their fault. They say it's the parole board. They say it's the judges. The state legislature makes the laws. It's the state legislature that passed the law that allows these rapists to be paroled. It's the state legislature that makes the law that let the judges let these guys go free. It is a Democrat party that only cares about putting money in their pockets. They don't care about public safety. They have no decency. That's why you can't shame a Democrat into anything, because they're sick-minded freaks. Over 300,000 children are missing that have been trafficked into the United States by the federal government. These went through the federal government.
Oh, you're dead on. No, look, Stephen, they're really getting exposed now. And remember, These are the ones that hunted us down, saying we were the insurrectionists. They're the insurrectionists. Liberalism's worst nightmare, baby. Okay, you want to know how bad the situation's getting? Listen to this, please, all of you. Whatever you're doing, please, molto importante, stop whatever you're doing. This is breaking now. So again, I told you, it's California, Massachusetts. It's almost like an arms race, a moonbat race. Who can be crazier than the other one? So Fox News now, hat tip to them, Bill Melugin and Greg Wenner, if I'm mispronouncing his name, my apologies. Greg Wenner, Bill Melugin broke this story. It's now national. U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement in Boston has just now announced the arrests, here it comes, 2 illegal aliens who have been charged with forcibly raping children in Massachusetts, as well as a third individual who was convicted of raping a child rape in Brazil, and who came across our wide open southern border and was hiding in Methuen. Okay, for those of you that don't know, what would you say, Sandy? What, northern Massachusetts? Yeah, northern Mass? Okay. So, here is, just so that you know, there were 2 individuals from Guatemala who have been arrested for the forcible rape of a child. Now, this is on Maura Healey. Maura Healey is directly to blame for this. As ICE points out, one of them, an individual, 21 years old, Minor Steven de Paz Munoz, entered the United States illegally, came right through that wide open southern border, was then arrested in Great Barrington in Mass by authorities for the forcible and repeated rape of a child. I don't even want to get into the details. I'm telling you, you're going to throw up. You're going to throw up in your mouth. You're going to vomit your breakfast. What that person did to that child, it's unspeakable. Okay. So, but listen to this. So he was arrested in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. This illegal from Guatemala. Child rape, repeated child rape. But they released him on bail. And then there was a detainer request by ICE. ICE said, we want this guy. He's here illegally. We want him. We're going to take care of him. We're going to make sure he's imprisoned or he's deported. They wanted him held or transferred to federal custody. But Massachusetts, under pressure from Maura Healey, ignored ICE's detainer request. So they let him walk free. A child rapist, for God's sake. And so apparently he was later arrested in Western Massachusetts by the Great Barrington Police for the rape of another child by force. Rape of a child, indecent assault and battery on a person 14 or older. Apparently now and then there's a second individual from Colombia, 42 years old, Billy Erne Buitraga Bustos. Another one arrested by the Great Barrington Police, this time on October 8th, 2023, for allegedly raping a child by force, statutory rape, aggravated rape. And immediately upon his arrest, ICE in Boston lodged an immigration arrest with the Great Barrington Police Department. And again, Healy, we're a sanctuary state. We don't cooperate with ICE. Now, they eventually arrested him, thank the Lord. But these are the kinds of predators that Healy is allowing to walk on our streets. The third suspect now that's just been arrested, 41 years old, Alexander Romeo de Oliveira, is a foreign fugitive convicted of raping a child in Brazil. Before he ended up having to serve his sentence, he escaped and, of course, came right in through our wide open southern border. On April 16, 2022, De Oliveira entered the United States near Santa Teresa, New Mexico. And he's another one of these guys. He just was catch and release. They caught him, and they said, you got to appear before a DOJ immigration review judge in about 5 years. And where did he find his way? Hey, where all the welfare is good. Where you're put up in a 4 or 5-star hotel, and you're given $2,000 prepaid debit cards, and, catered meals, iPads, computers, free health care, everything free on our tax dollar dime. Has been living here for years. A convicted child rapist who fled his home country to evade justice. They finally caught him here in Massachusetts, let in by Healy. Now, let me just say this. This needs to be said. Someone needs to arrest her ass. We're talking child rape, man. Okay, we're not talking about robbing a liquor store. That's bad. But we're not talking about that. We're talking now about some of the most vile, sadistic, evil, sexual child predators you can imagine. And what did I say earlier in the show? What is it with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? Everybody around the country is noticing this. It's become a haven and magnet for pedophiles and child molesters. And Healy wants to defend them? Michelle Wu and Elizabeth Warren want to defend them? She's letting them in. She's purposely letting them in. She's deliberately obstructing ICE from being able to do its job to detain, capture, arrest, and deport these animals. Healy needs to be arrested. Period. Enough is enough. Agree, disagree, and let me just say one final thing. As a father of 2 kids, because one of them raped someone about 14 years or just younger. So my Ashton is 14. My Ava is 12. That could have been my kid. That could have been your kid. That could have been your grandchild. That could have been your niece or your nephew. And she lets them in? She welcomes them in and then is preventing ICE from being able to arrest them? No. No. She is now an accomplice. She is harboring and she is concealing not just illegal aliens, but the most dangerous, vile sexual predators on the planet. This woman is seriously sick. Seriously sick. And if I don't I'm going to say something that's going to land me in big trouble. I don't care. If I'm not here to speak the truth, then there's no point in me being behind this microphone. There is something rotten in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I'm talking about the political elite and the media elite. There is a pedophile ring here. There is a sex trafficking, child trafficking ring in Massachusetts. It's huge in Hollywood. It's huge in Silicon Valley. We know that. But it's also now something is in the water in Boston. And the politicians and the media are deliberately protecting child molesters and child rapists. And I can only come to one conclusion. Either they're all being bought and bribed, which in this state wouldn't shock me, or, I'm sorry, but there are powerful politicians with very strong predilections towards exploiting our children. Because nothing else makes sense. I'm not saying there aren't child molesters in other states. There are. But everybody, left, right, center, is admitting they're all come to a consensus. There's something here in Massachusetts. It's not normal. It's not normal. Now, I can only conclude either there's money that's exchanging hands to look the other way, or we've got a pedophile problem among our elites. Because this is not normal. Where's the Boston Globe? Where's the Boston Herald? Where's Channel 4, Channel 5, 7, 10, 25? Where's WGBH? I could go on and on. Where is the media on maybe the biggest story in the country? Nowhere. Nowhere. 617-266-6868. And honest to God, everyone listening right now, that's why they all want me off the air. That's why the elites, from the Boston Herald to the Globe, to the governor, to the mayor, to the Democrats, to the rhinos, they would give their left arm to take me off the air. Because I'm the only one who has the honesty and the courage, frankly, the decency to expose this and protect our children. Maura Healey is inviting child rapists into our Commonwealth. She's putting our children at risk. And you know what her answer is? From time to time, things will happen. That's literally a verbatim quote. Oh, children get molested and forcibly raped from time to time. And that's just what happens. You are a sick, perverted woman. And it's time someone put the handcuffs on you. And I don't want to say anything more because it's going to get me fired. 617-266-6868, you POS. Susie in Newton. Thanks for holding, Susie, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you for taking my phone call.
My pleasure, Susie.
It's called aiding, abetting, encouraging criminal activity. Not just supporting them, not just protecting them, aiding, abetting, and that's what this is. And you know what? They absolutely need to be prosecuted for this. This is crimes against humanity. We're American citizens here, and these crimes are being committed against American citizens by illegal alien invaders. That's what it is, plain and simple. And you know what? Yes, President Trump absolutely should withhold federal funding as much as he can. But you know what? It's going to start hurting the people, the American citizens that are on, like, public assistance. And I'm sorry for that. I am sorry for that. But something needs to be done. This is unacceptable.
Well, look, Susie, I agree with you. And look, I know there are people on assistance. They listen to this show, and I don't mean you any harm. Honest to God, from the bottom of my heart, I don't. Look, but they got to pay consequences. And I think if people in Massachusetts are paying a price and it's hitting them in the pocketbook, there's no money for roads, there's no money for schools, there's no money for hospitals, there's no money for first responders, police, firefighters, you name it. They're going to ask Maura Healey why. And her answer is, we have to protect gangbangers, drug dealers, and child rapists. And they're going to say, you're effing crazy. And that's when they're going to turn on her, and her career is going to go right down the toilet. Like, you have to break them. And look, I'm telling you, Trump is going to break them. And Holman is going to break them. There's no question. So, we just have to see it through now. But look, what upsets me is this, Susie. What I just reported now, okay, this last 10 minutes, literally, it's all fact, evidence. That's all it is. It's 1,000% fact and evidence. That's what it is. It's the truth. It's the God's honest truth. If the local media just reported this, Healey's finished. Sanctuary cities are finished. Michelle Wu is finished. The sanctuary state and Commonwealth of Massachusetts is finished. Healey's done. Wu's done. The state legislature, the Democrats are done. They're done. It's over. The public, the uproar from the public would be so overwhelming. It would sweep them from power. And they're so desperate to protect them that they bury this. They bury this. And that's why I ask these people in the media, how do you sleep with yourself at night? How do you look at yourself in the mirror? That could be your child, for God's sake. Susie, final word to you.
They just, they don't care. They look at their bank account, and that's the almighty dollar is what drives them. That's the only logical explanation that I can come up with.
Or they're involved in pedophilia themselves.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's repulsive, beyond repulsive. There's only one answer for a pedophile, and that is eliminate them. There's no rehabilitation, people. These pedophiles, it is their DNA. The only way you get rid of it is by eliminating it. There's no prison, nothing. You know what? Here's a suggestion. Here's a strong suggestion. I'm hearing that Epstein Island is sitting free and clear. Why don't we start rounding up these pedophiles, send them out to Epstein Island, and guess what? All these pharmaceuticals that need to make human testing, i.e. like the corona pandemic, Fauci ouchie jab, and start experimenting on these pedophiles. There's a solution. You hit two birds with one stone. Most of the problems solved right there.
Susie, thank you very much for that call. Mark in Medford. Mark, I know you've been holding patiently. Thank you and welcome.
Jeff, I don't know where to start. The more you talk, the more stuff is coming out. And it's just trying to go through my brain, and it's hard for me to process. But you know what, Massachusetts? Are you awake yet? Do you see what's in the State House? Or are you waiting for something to happen to one of your kids or one of your family members' kids or your neighbor's kids? Is that what you're waiting for? Jeff, I used to torture Maura Healey on Twitter. And every time she posted something, I would just say whatever I needed to say, and then I would hashtag recall Maura Healey. But now it's going to be hashtag arrest Maura Healey. And it needs to go viral. People need to share it. People need to hashtag it all over the state. Hell, there needs to be a rally in front of the State House with thousands of signs saying, arrest this woman, with her ugly kisser, big picture of her ugly kisser on a sign. Arrest this woman.
Mark, do you think these threats of them ordering the police to have a confrontation or a showdown with ICE, with the U.S. military, to shield and defend and protect these illegal criminal gangs and these illegal criminals, or that they're now going to invite people to act as human shields, tens and tens of thousands of them, to create like a Tiananmen Square style environment? Do you think they're serious, or do you think they're bluffing?
Jeff, whether they're serious or not, like a few callers ago said, yeah, the police, they'll show up, but they're not going to do anything. And as far as citizens forming a line in front of ICE agents, federal officers, and the military, do you really think citizens are going to do that? Citizens are going to be like, I'm not that freaking stupid. Come on, Jeff. Come on. These Democratic mayors and governors, they need to be arrested for treason. They need to be arrested for harboring fugitives. They need to be arrested for pedophilia. Jeff, you said it a million times. You can indict a ham sandwich. Am I correct or am I wrong?
That's right.
Okay. Well, you know what? I have a message for any Republican, conservative prosecutor in the state of Massachusetts or in this country for that matter. Start handing out indictments. You can indict a ham sandwich, then you can certainly indict that no good POS on Beacon Hill.
Amen. Mark, as always, drop the mic, my friend. Christine in Florida. Thanks for holding, Christine, and welcome.
Thank you for taking my call, Jeff.
My pleasure, Christine.
Just a few things. You're 1,000% right. I can't even elaborate on. It's so disgusting. Everything. What they need to do is these rapists. What should happen to them is put them in the main square wherever they're doing it, and to take care of what they use to rape the kids. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
Okay. The other thing is, and I don't know if I missed anything, when they don't want the death penalty, well, what do you think the abortions are doing? They're killing the babies. Yet they won't enforce a death penalty. It doesn't make sense.
Well, Christine, think about it. They're willing to kill an innocent baby in the womb that is innocent. The baby has not done anything to nobody. Yet they will go to the mat to protect a Jose Ibarra, a violent sexual predator, child rapist, and murderer. He has the right to life. An unborn innocent baby, kill it. So, Christine, that's liberalism for you. That's the Democratic Party for you.
I was originally from Everett, and I'm telling you, I'm glad I'm out of Massachusetts. And I grew up there, 74 years. And I know it's everywhere, but it's just like the Twilight Zone. What is wrong? We campaigned for Trump down here. It was wonderful. And I thank God that he got in. And I pray for him that he'll be
successful. He's going to be immensely successful. Look, Christine, they're really, to me, in a way, I'm happy they keep talking because they're really showing us how evil they are. And they're being exposed. So let them keep talking. And Kuhner Country, are you with me? Is it time to start arresting blue state mayors and governors? Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Very quickly, my friends. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. It's coming in fast and furious. So listen now to this. Elon Musk is now weighing in on all of these blue state governors and mayors, all of it coordinated now. Los Angeles, Denver, I've been talking about that this morning, Chicago, New York, and of course here in Boston, all of these states, California, Arizona, Colorado, New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, all of them now forming what they're calling a wall of resistance to Trump's attempt for mass deportation should he, once he becomes president of the United States and is officially inaugurated. So listen now to Elon. This is what he wrote on X. Why are quote unquote sanctuary cities protecting child rapists? Unconscionable. Any politician who does so should be recalled immediately. And Elon is responding to what we've been talking about. This is the top story at Fox News, and it's going national, international. Picture of Maura Healey's face. Illegal immigrant child predator arrested, where blue state governor vows to harbor criminals. This, I don't know what else to tell you. The governor of Massachusetts, like the governor of Illinois, like the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, is now saying you can't come and even deport or arrest illegal alien child rapists. ICE, don't come. We're going to fight you every step of the way. This is from 617. Jeff. All of the blue state governors and mayors are following the same playbook on this issue of deportation. Why? And all of this is financed by our tax dollars. Why? Who is making these decisions? What's the purpose? Who benefits? That's an excellent point. That's an absolutely excellent point. One more, 917. Jeff. Jeff, we have always been told so many times by Democrats, no one is above the law. Well, the mayors of sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, they're not above the law either. I agree with you, Jeff. It's time to arrest them. Amen, 917. Josh in Ashland. Thanks for holding, Josh, and welcome.
Jeff, great show. Just want to say, sorry, Michelle. Sorry, Maura. It may have worked for Marty Walsh, but you're not going to get a cabinet position in 2028. You should, instead of thinking about promotion, you should be thinking about how to stay out of jail.
Well, Josh, let me ask you this, because I agree with you. Please don't get me wrong. And very pithy. I like the way you said it. But here, look, I can read you another one. 508-617. Everyone is, it's an open secret. They go, Jeff, Maura Healey is jockeying to be the Democratic presidential nominee in 2028. Just like Gavin Newsom and Kathy Hochul are. And that's why now they're trying to, push this resistance on these mass deportations. So, Josh, let me ask you this. Do you think by resisting Trump on these deportations and really now protecting and defending felons, rapists, child molesters, is this going to be Maura Healey's ticket to the nomination in 2028? Or Gavin Newsom, or, all of them? Is this now what it takes to win a Democratic presidential nomination?
It's J.D. Vance in 2028 anyway, but I know that's kind of aside. But no, it's not going to help them, and they're going to have way too much. It's going to give them it's going to scar their record way too much for the Democrats to nominate them, and for them to get any, a blue state Democrat. How is someone who does that going to win a red state? They can forget it. So.
I agree. Josh, I completely agree with you. Josh, as always, thank you very much for that call. No, they think politically it's this big win for them. And have you seen the mandate that Trump has? So you think in 2028, no, really think about this. Yeah, I defended child rapists and sex predators. Yeah, vote for me. Yeah, no, even for the Democratic Party, if they want to win, they're going to say, are you nuts? Like, lady, what are you, on crack? So I know it plays well to the Boston Globe. It plays well to the crazy moonbats. It plays well to the campus radicals at Harvard. I understand that. But if you're serious about having presidential aspirations, this is political suicide. Now, to me, I think what's more important, it's professional suicide. Cross that line and lock them up. Okay, I've got a big story for you. More next. Don't touch that dial. Oh, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. This is not the big story I was teasing just before the break. I'll get to it in like 10 seconds. But I want to thank Bill. Bill sent me this. Bill, you know who you are. This is today's Boston Globe. Just to prove my point. The Laken Riley murder case. The verdict yesterday. Jose Ibarra was a violent, criminal, illegal alien. That's a fact. It's a fact. Here's the Globe headline. Quote, listen to this. Migrant gets life sentence for killing Laken Riley in case seized on by Trump. So like it's a Trump issue. Like, the fact that this poor girl was murdered and butchered. No, it's just, hey, it's for the Trumpsters. They seem to be all hot and bothered about this. But, no, migrant. No, wasn't a migrant. It was an illegal alien. That's typical of the Globe's propaganda. Now, Trump is going to get opposition on deportations, not just from the radical left, but from some on the libertarian right. I want you to listen to this. This is Senator Rand Paul. Now, normally I like Rand Paul. I agree with Rand Paul on many, many issues. But listen now to Rand Paul saying, I don't mind ICE deporting the worst, most heinous offenders of these illegal aliens that are here. The gangbangers, the murderers, the rapists, the sex offenders. But using the military to go after millions and millions of illegals? Rand Paul says he's dead set against it. Listen now to Rand Paul. This was him on Newsmax. Roll cut 10, Mike.
I think what I would do if I were in charge of the immigration situation would be to first to go after those who have committed crimes. You know, the big news right before the election was that there were 15,000 people in our country who have committed murder. There are about 13,000 that have committed sex crimes, violent sex crimes. That's 28,000 people. Why don't we start with that 28,000? Why don't we put out an all points bulletin and when we have them removed? I think if we start there, we'll be fine.
Okay, so now I'm with him. You go after the most dangerous ones first, no question. So yeah, let's do that 28,000 right away. I agree with him. Up to here, I'm with him. This is where he loses me. Roll cut 10A, Mike.
I'm not in favor of sending the Army in uniforms into our cities to collect people. I think it's a terrible image, and that's not what we use our military for. We never have, and it's actually been illegal for over 100 years to bring the Army into our cities. Army and our military are trained to shoot the enemy. They're not trained to get a warrant to do what they're doing. The police have a difficult job, but the people removing people from our country need to be a police enforcement domestic agency, not the military. I'm all for remain in Mexico, I will not support an emergency to put the Army into our cities. I think that's a huge mistake.
Now, I want to be fair to Rand Paul. I want to play just one more cut to give him, in other words, make his full point. But he's against Trump declaring a national emergency on day one. And he says no way should he be using the military to reinforce ICE and federal law enforcement to start rounding up these illegal aliens and have the largest deportation, millions of illegals deported in the history of our country. He says that's not what the military is for. Listen to him say it's borderline martial law. Roll cut 10B, Mike.
I'm not for really most presidential emergencies because they smack of martial rule. They smack of no congressional approval. They smack of no checks and balances. So, look, I'm supportive of President Trump. I'm supportive of removing people illegally here, particularly people who have committed crimes. But I'm not for the Army marching up and down our streets. I think it's a terrible image to send the world. It's a terrible image for us as citizens. And so I hope he will think twice about trying to use an emergency edict to have the Army patrolling our country.
To me, I strongly disagree with Senator Paul on this. What is the military for? But to stop an invasion and get invaders out of our country. If that's not what the military is for, I don't know what the hell it's for. So I completely disagree with him on every aspect. But I want to throw this log on the fire. Senator Paul says it's a mistake to use the military. We should not use the U.S. military to secure our border or to deport illegal aliens. That this smacks of martial law, that it's government overreach, that this should only be left to ICE and federal law enforcement. Do you agree? You know where I stand. I want to hear from you. Karen in Everett. Thanks for holding, Karen, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. I just want to say the mayors and the governors, they're the enemy within that Trump always referenced because of what they're doing. And I don't really think the police officers are going to put their lives on the line for the illegal criminals that they took an oath to protect us from. And I hope that the Denver police and the ones in Boston all resign.
Well, Karen, I can tell you this. I can't speak for the Denver police, but I've been getting a lot of text messages from Boston police officers, city police. And they're saying, Jeff, I can tell you this. I can speak for myself and so many of my brothers and sisters. Some of us may show up, but we're not blocking ICE. And many of us are going to call that day and say we're sick. So she does not have the Boston police behind her at all. So if she's banking on that, she's going to be in for a big disappointment. So I agree with you, Karen. I don't think they're going to resign. I think they're just either going to call in sick or just show up and, not do anything. Like, well, okay, guys, you want to arrest them? Go ahead. I mean, the mayor ordered us to be here. We're here, but we're not going to block you. So, Karen, I think this is going to blow up in their face. And I would be shocked if any police officer, fired back or tried to obstruct ICE or created any kind of a confrontation or violent standoff. I would be absolutely shocked. Karen, are you surprised that these Democrats, like Mayor Wu, like Healy, like the Denver mayor, like Gavin Newsom, like Hochul, are willing to take it this far?
Am I surprised? No, because it's all power. They think they can do whatever they want to, and their followings are all sheep.
Interesting.
And they're going to do what they say.
Interesting. Karen, thank you very much for that call. Mel in New York. Thanks for holding, Mel, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Mel.
Thank you. Yes. Jeff, first of all, I'd like to speak in regards to, jailhouse justice with this criminal who raped Laken Riley. I believe that he'll get the Jeff Dahmer treatment within a year of being incarcerated for what he did. But, Jeff, I am a member of the CSPOA, which is the Constitution Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. Matter of fact, my membership number is 4874. So it's 4,874 plus, on, who's a member of this organization. And the mission of the organization to equip sheriffs, peace officers, and public officials with the necessary information and public support to carry out their duties in accordance with their oath of office. That is a very well-respected organization. Now, I don't know what the political affiliation of the sheriff in the county of Boston, whatever county that falls in. I don't know if he's a Democrat or he's a Republican, but these people. You can get a hold of your sheriff and ask, politely ask, where he stands in that position. But I just it's got to be, the sheriff is the law enforcement executive of your county or of counties across the country. They have the last say in regards to who can enter their county, because you had an email or a text that outlined that also. But it's true. I just feel as though we as Americans have to bring these people to realize where their position is, in the county that you live in. But yeah, they have to be arrested. These governors and these mayors of these cities that call themselves quote unquote sanctuary cities and states, like you take what happened to several police officers in Manhattan when they got beat up by these Venezuelan criminals that entered our country. I have a feeling that those people, those officers of that brethren of that department in Manhattan, they have a long memory. And I truly believe Hochul and Eric Adams, which Eric Adams is kind of softened up on his position because he wants to revoke and rescind and stop all the social services and everything that benefits these illegals have been.
Oh, you're dead on. No, Mel, you're dead on because it's bankrupting New York. We're at, New York is at the breaking point. Honestly, Boston is at the breaking point. Chicago, LA. So, to me, if you have half a brain, you welcome ICE. You welcome these deportations. 9:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, very, very quickly. A lot of reaction to Rand Paul opposing Trump declaring a national emergency on day one to begin mass deportations of illegal aliens and for Trump and Holman to use the U.S. military to help launch the greatest deportation ever in American history. And Larry is a Air Force veteran. And this is what Larry messaged me on Messenger. Jeff, so when the British invaded, we should have used cops? ? I swore an oath to defend the Constitution and America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Bingo. I don't want to repeat myself, but really, if the military is not there to defend and repel an invasion of our country, then what the hell is it there for? To me, that's exactly why you use the U.S. military. But again, that's just me. Nancy in Attleboro. Thanks for holding, Nancy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Nancy.
I have one comment, and then I have a second plea to Tom Holdman.
Yes.
The first one is the illegal scumbag, Jose. He has the death penalty. He will not last 1 to 7 months in prison. He will be cornered by prison guards or cellmates, and he will have his time out. So he'll be gone not long after prison sentence. The second one is a plea to Tom Homan. Please consider, when you are in Trump's cabinet starting January 21st, just like the movie, The illegal aliens are the fugitives, like the movie. I want them to check every outhouse, doghouse, outbuilding, hotel, motel by the police and the military, including the Army, the Navy, and the Marines, and every blue state, town, city, sanctuary city. I want them to rescue any U.S. citizens, children, held up in these hotels, motels, wherever, outhouses, and teens, young adults, and bring them home safely. What do you say?
Oh, amen. Amen, sister. Really, that's what I say. I agree with you. Look, this is a war. I'm sorry, but it is. This was an invasion welcomed by these collaborators, Quislings like Biden and Harris and Mayorkas and Healy and Newsom and Hochul and Pritzker and that whole criminal cabal. And you use the full might and force of all law enforcement, the entire military, and you get every illegal alien out and you rescue every American. Especially, as you rightly point out, Nancy, the children that have been trafficked. And not just American children, but those poor, 350,000 missing children from around the world who were brought in by these cartels. God knows what so many of them have been enduring and suffering. So you send in the military, and if they stand in your way, if these, if the Healys and the Michelle, Woo, and the Newsoms and the Pritzkers and the Hochuls and that crazy mayor out in Denver, you just slap the cuffs on them and toss them in jail. Don't even blink an eye. And you tell everybody else, you stand in our way, same thing, because you're a collaborator. Nancy, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Peter in Worcester, thanks for holding, Peter, and welcome.
Good morning. I'll be brief. I was a police officer for almost 34 years. I'm retired. I say Maura Healey she's drawing attention to herself, and it's going to backfire on her. And I tell you right now, all right, it's not going to be good. This is what happens when you get a one-party state. We have a new colonel right now that I don't know anything about the gentleman. I hear he's a pretty good guy and whatnot, but he is beholden to Maura Healey because she hired him. It's the first time that the state police have not had a colonel that came through the ranks and was elevated to the rank of colonel. So I had heard that he made a statement saying that the Massachusetts State Police was not going to perform any type of immigration detainings or any of that. I can tell you the time that I worked, in the 30-plus years that I worked, we were handcuffed. You couldn't do anything with illegal aliens, all right? You pulled them over, And the only thing you could do is maybe if they weren't driving with a license, you could probably arrest them and that way and fingerprint them, etc. But Massachusetts is now, the way the things are going right now, Jeff, it's a giant magnet. And if they don't nip this in the bud, you're going to have so many people coming to Massachusetts. The taxpayers are basically going to, at some point, taxpayers are going to say something about it. So I think Maura Healey is in for a big surprise.
Peter, I agree. And I want to thank you for your service. You know how I love you, men and women in blue. Peter, it isn't a magnet for all these illegal alien criminals, which is going to put not just civilians, citizens like me and this audience, law-abiding citizens in jeopardy. It's going to put police officers in jeopardy. That's the problem. More criminals come in. What do you think? It's going to put more police officers in danger. That's why this is and put all of us in our communities in danger. And that's why, look, this is what I want to end the show with. And how much time left, Mike? Okay, no time. So really, it's this. They're traitors and collaborators. That's what these blue state governors and mayors are. Well, send in the military, send in ICE, send in federal law enforcement, and arrest these traitors and collaborators if they obstruct you on the spot. Problem solved. And on that great note, bye-bye.